particular two species of vultures, the Ruppel's vulture and the hooded vulture. Now, these particular vultures are found in parts of East Africa, and particularly in Somalia and the Horn of Africa. And frequently, vultures have found that feeding around human meat waste sites has been a good way to get their food, because of course originally vultures found all their food from just finding dead animals lying out on the plains and eating the bits and pieces of meat that were left over after the other predators had their fill. And they've adapted that behaviour and now feed around places where there are abattoirs, where meatworks occur, and they've become rather dependent on the meat in those places, the offal that's thrown out at the back of meatworks in these African communities. And in some places it's been recorded that, you know, these two species of vultures can eat 1/4 of a tonne, that's 250 kilos of offal per day at these sites around the backs of abattoirs. Now this of course has been very useful for we humans, because this offal, when it builds up, becomes undesirable for a whole range of reasons, and the vultures have been able to actually clear away a lot of this waste that we produce in many of these places. Sadly, what's been happening is the vultures have been getting rarer, and what's been happening is a lot of this offal gets accumulates, and what's been happening is feral dogs are then eating them, and feral dogs in these parts of the world have rabies. So there's connections in India in particular between large numbers of feral dogs and rabies, and potentially there's a problem in these sites in Africa. So there's this connection between vultures and removing the waste. Now, you know, there are other ways that we could remove the waste in these places, but vultures provide a very good service in places where there aren't other easy ways to handle this sort of material. So it's a story worth watching to see whether or not the vultures are declining just generally, or whether or not they aren't being able to find as much of this waste material. But sadly, of course, if dogs increase, rabies becomes a big issue in these rather poorer communities, and it becomes a real human disease issue as well, not from the offal, but from the rabies that is a consequence. So it's been good that vultures over the years have been able to provide us with this service, and hopefully we can find ways of managing vultures and this waste in a way which is best for all.